The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Albert Einstein.
If this is the first time listening to us, welcome.
Welcome to our podcast.
Today, what is our this year's slogan for us?
Don't bitch about it, be about it.
And today we're going to be about it.
That's what we're doing.
Today, all day long, is going to be
Being about it.
Being about it. We want you to be about it. We want you to get involved, and we're going to be talking about that today. You know, a lot of people were grown on the American dream.
And told about it, right?
Yeah. You work really hard. You provide for your family.
If you make sure you do A, B, and C.
If you provide for yourself. And that's the American dream. You start off with nothing. You're gonna make this. Not everybody has that same opportunity, and I want people to know that. Not everybody has that same opportunity. Whether it's in Oregon, whether it's in another state, not everybody has that. I really want everybody to kind of open their mind, take 5 steps backwards today, and actually look at what's going on around you.
And how privileged you are.
Over here in Portland, Oregon, history has been repeating itself over and over and over again. As I went back, through our history, we all know the underground tunnels of Portland.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like kind of like it was like joked about, but it was a serious thing. But anytime I would go to a building in Portland, somebody in our family would be like, oh yeah, there was underground tunnels under here, da da da. But I never, as a child, knew what they were used for.
So they were supposed to be used from the Willamette to the places where, the ships, it was a port.
To transport.
Yeah, to transport underground, to get them from A to B. So as I was learning about this, I'm like, okay, cool. They were transporting from the ships. That's what it was built for. But what it was used for was something completely different.
Like what they actually ended up using it for.
Yeah. And this went up until 1940s.
Wow.
In the early 1940s. So seriously, this wasn't that long ago. If you really stop and think about it.
Some of our relatives could have been existing around. Yeah.
So when they said, okay, I've been shanghaied in Portland, this is what it meant.
Okay.
This is what it meant. They would get, you got to remember, hard alcohol was illegal.
Right. And it was like a heavy crime.
Yeah. So under these tunnels, there was organized crime. There was human trafficking. Human trafficking as in, I'm going to, get this sailor all jacked up and have him pass out and then get him bound this ship. And these ships would go, you either get up and work or you get pushed overboard.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what it really meant, to be shanghaied in Portland. So here's the thing. It was used for organized crime, drugs, gambling. Of course, all of this stuff was, underground.
And to believe coordinated by like people in power of like higher ups kind of.
Well, I'm going to tell you, in the beginning of time, there was a sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So like the crooked cops or the dirty cops.
He owned a bar. All of this stuff. There was a lot of bars in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so.
And they owned a bar.
Mm-hmm. So when human trafficking, when I'm saying that, it's not just women. There were women.
Mm-hmm.
There were women that were being trafficked down there. There were,
So like, you're in a sense you're explaining like trafficked into slavery, kind of, or
there
to
was
work,
slavery to work.
Mm-hmm.
But there were also, traffic for
personal benefit.
Personal benefit, yeah.
Of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what it ended up being in the stories that I heard and trying to figure out what was myth, what was true, and this is these underground tunnels is just one thing. They would actually have a business and have stuff underground. And one woman named Rose, she was one of the biggest distilleries of hard alcohol here in Portland, Oregon, way back when.
So how long were they actually only doing things legally? Was it more of a shortened amount of time, and like the longer was like they were doing
I have no documented history on that. What I do know is those Shanghai tunnels were documented from 1850 to early 1940s. So,
and they used throughout that time it was used on all of this.
Yeah. So when I'm saying history is repeating itself, it's repeating itself now. Except the only difference is it's not underground; it is above ground, on the streets where everybody can see, from the elderly to little babies. Yeah. And so nothing has changed.
It's just not hidden anymore.
It's not hidden. It's right out there where everybody can see. Mm-hmm. So in order for me to have a better understanding, I had to take, like I said, 20 steps back, right? I had to educate myself. I couldn't talk about it if I didn't know about it, right?
Well, and I think you totally dove into like, how did we get to this point to today? Like, so you had to backtrack.
So I ended up doing a lot of research. I have a lot of notes. I have them right here in front of me because if I forget, I'm going to look down.
Reference, yeah.
Right, because there's so much that's happened, and I'm not going to be able to include everything in the show because we only have a certain amount of time, right?
Yeah.
And we got other topics that we got to talk about, but this to us is really important, and I really would love for everybody to.
Well, it's because it's actively happening right now, and decisions on this stuff is happening.
Yeah, yeah.
So we need our community here in Oregon and Portland specifically to get on board and contribute in a positive way.
So I actively started engaging in these board meetings and trying to better understand Measure 110. I tried to do this all at the same time, so it was a little overwhelming for me. Okay. So I dove right into it. I got really confused at multiple times trying to do it. At one point, I asked social media, Juel and I, the question, what is the first step the local government can do to help the homeless crisis? I was knee deep into figuring this out right when I asked that question. But we're going to figure this out together today of what the first step can be, right?
Actual logically thinking. Not just obscenity, like saying harshful things, because some people would say some harshful things from responses. But things that actually could function.
Right.
Like things that could actually function within society and in a community to thrive. Yeah.
So as a community, we really, no matter if you live in Portland, Oregon, Salem, Oregon, Troutdale, Oregon, Clackamas, we have to really pay attention. And also in other states that this is affected. We in Oregon are one of the top of the homeless. with big cities.
Yeah, I believe
We fall number 4.
we are at like top 5, I believe. It's like California for states is California, Oregon, New York, Washington, and I think Florida.
You know what? Washington isn't even in that top, even though it says Seattle.
Yeah.
Is it?
But
No.
what's so crazy is people go out and interview people in Seattle. I just watched this. Has nothing to do with our community, but there's some people that are in such denial.
Yeah, they are.
And that's what happens here too.
So we need government transparency of what is happening right now. The reason why we need to know this is because our homeless crisis is visibly getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So us, the public, we need to become aware, and we need to come together as a community, and we need to, actually get involved, right? Don't bitch about it, be about it. If you're going to bitch about it, you have to turn around and figure out how you're going to get involved. So
I have a question for you. So I'm not going to spill your location of workplace, but with your location of work, with what you've witnessed throughout, because you've worked there for so many years in that location, what would you say is big differences that you could point out? Because like even from when I was working with you years ago, before I had kids, there would be some people sleeping in front of your door or all this stuff. So what would you say is the big key like differences that you noticed around in your area that is like how the difference to the homeless issues now?
So the difference in the homeless
from when you like, not when it started, but like when you began working, because it's always been there, but now it's gotten. Yeah.
So
what would you like notice?
I've had like over. If you see just a couple blocks, over 50% of those are filled with homeless people
on the sidewalks and the streets and
yeah, in RVs and all of that.
And I think you've experienced more so recently within this last year, like fires due to things occurring from.
Yeah. Things. So fires, we have 80% of our homeless population here in Portland, Oregon are using. So there's a lot of people in the middle of the road just standing there, and it's pretty dangerous. We have a lot of people right on the side of the road. Where I work at, it's a lot of big trucks come through there, and I'm always concerned that they're going to, you see a big truck and they go around a corner and they go over. I'm worried they're going to get killed.
Yeah. And I believe that one of the recent ones, wasn't it believed that somebody was like cooking up, like making it, and it exploded and caused a fire? Yeah. So that is occurring.
That is occurring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I believe you and other people said you guys could smell stuff in the air. And I was like, go the fuck inside.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if it's safe.
Mess. It's a really hot mess out there.
So that, I would say, from what you've told me, that those are huge differences, that it's just right there outside.
Yeah, it's just right outside.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're always seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, as I was actively paying attention and being involved with Multnomah County's councils, commissioners, paying attention to the city of Portland, as I was, these meetings last hours.
I know, because there's sometimes just debate back and forth.
And I couldn't help but to think, because, I don't have a big business, but
it's a pretty good size.
I run a business.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but to think, and the whole time in this show, I want you guys to think about this. Who What? When? Who is going to do it? What are they going to do?
Right.
When are they going to do it? That is like in a position of a business, when you're creating a position, when you're creating something, you're like, okay, why are we going to do this?
Right. And it's like
Okay, and
the
then
people who are like,
it's in
somebody
line.
needs to do something about this. Okay, who's that somebody?
Who's that somebody?
Yeah, yeah.
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do about it?
When are they going to do it?
Exactly. That's very good points.
The whole time I'm like, is anybody thinking about this?
Right.
Like, what is happening, right?
We could bitch about it, but who's going to do something
So
about it?
as I'm trying to wrap my brain around it, I did take 20 steps back because I really needed to educate myself, right? We're sitting in 2023, right? 2023. This isn't new, right? We're in a crisis. We're in a homeless crisis. People are dying on the streets. While these board meetings are happening, while all this is happening, people are dying on the streets. I'm picturing like firemen. I'm picturing homeless people, giving somebody Narcan. I'm picturing like, the emergency rooms filled, right? And as these homeless people get kicked right back out into the streets from the emergency department, I'm like, they got to have an organized plan, right? Like, what is this plan? So I'm like knee deep in, right? Like, I am fully invested in making sure that I figure out what this plan is. Holy shit, they don't have a plan, guys. But I'm going to talk about it. Let me just explain. And I wish I was Katie Porter at this time. Not going to lie. I wish I had a whiteboard. And I had them sitting on the other side, and I wish I was Katie Porter.
And just questioning.
Just questioning. So let's picture this is the organization right now of your local government within Multnomah County of the city of Portland. Same thing with Multnomah County, whatever, right? You have your city, then you have your county. Above that, you have, the state of Oregon. What is the state of Oregon's responsibility? Nobody knows, right? Because this is what they do. They pass the buck down, and they're like, your county is responsible for all of these services along with your city. So the state has washed their hands, right? They have like, nope. Your county, your city. So back in 2016, when the homeless crisis started like just booming, right? They created this department. Of course, I didn't know it was a department. Everybody called it Joint Office of Homeless Services. I later found out that it is a department within Multnomah County. When they first started in 2016, they had 21, in 2019, they had 21 full-time employees. Mm-hmm. They are now up to 99 full-time employees.
It's like, what are they doing?
Their turnover rate, the Joint Office of Homeless Services, has been ridiculous with the turnover rate, including your directors. They have had 4 directors since they started.
Jeez.
4 directors. That is like the person like leading the way.
You said since 2016? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's wild.
It is wild. So what is the Joint Office of Homeless Services supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? Because everybody is so confused about this. They are supposed to be that point of person from the county to the city to your provider to your contractors, who your contractors and your providers are your nonprofits that provide the service that is actually doing the work with the community, with your homeless community. So that would be like such things as transitional housing, mental health care, job training. The list goes on, of what those things could be. out of the city of Portland, there's like over 13,000 nonprofit organizations. I could not get an accurate number of which one, the amount of which ones service the homeless, because it just wouldn't give me that number.
Right.
So since the 7 years, whenever this joint office, joint office of homeless services, the Portland City of Portland can't do nothing without talking to them. Period. So that would mean Ted would have to go present a plan.
Which Ted is deucing out. He said
He's deuced. He's like, yeah,
and
I can't
then,
do this no more.
And then another person followed right after him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when this first started, the history was the city of Portland and Multnomah County teamed up to create a new agency focused on the homeless crisis. That was their goal. And this joint office of homeless services was supposed to help with the communication of all of these different areas, right?
It just sounds like they're creating things for themselves to benefit and seek off of the homeless crisis. That's literally what it sounds like, because they're not benefiting the homeless. They're not doing anything to actually make better change or to do anything positive.
So the Joint Office of Homeless Services just recently got audited. And, I'm not shocked of the results because we haven't seen a change going on, right? So I'm going to tell you what the audit showed here. So your contractors, your providers, they're the ones out there with serving your homeless community. I mean, the stress alone, can you imagine what that is, Joel? Can you imagine having that stress and not being paid?
Right.
This can impact the services needs to the fullest right there. They are unable to hire and retrain workers because of not being paid. There was one that took out a line of credit just because they weren't paid by the Joint Office of Homeless Services. And I can understand this next one because I do work for certain government agencies. But the contracting process is so complex in the invoicing that it is so costly to even try and do. And, if you're unable to pay a wage that is, fair with the economy that we're going on, what is going to make those services available to the Joint Office of Homeless Services? What is going to do that? So that actually came, in on the audit. They also talked to the staff. And what do you think that staff said, Joel?
I don't think this is the whole thing. Is like, I don't think they're getting paid adequately, but they have the money and resources to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd think, I don't know, my guess would be that the staff is overworked, underpaid, and you're talking about the staff from these people, right?
Yeah.
For one, I think a lot of people that do that and work to here are kind of cowardly because to work for a place and to what they stand for and not actually represent with what they stand for, I think a lot of them are probably cowards and don't have a lot of comment on a lot of things.
Well, I'm going to tell you what staff members reported. They feel the work is disorganized.
Is this anonymously? Is this reported anonymously? Like nobody's came forward?
This is what came out in the audit.
Okay.
This is documented.
Okay.
So they feel that the work is disorganized, and I'm going to tell you what else.
Mm-hmm.
Their direction, they have lack of direction within these organizations. Can you imagine that within dealing with the type of work that this is? So they don't have any direction. And one of the problems is without a permanent director going back and forth during this massive staff increase, their biggest weakness is the lack of organization and communication between the city, the county, the providers. That was the whole reason why this was established, right? That was the whole reason. This,
This reminds me of, like, it's kind of a little off topic, but it's like reminds me of a patient at like with has critical health conditions, right?
Right.
And how it can't just be one doctor doing it all. It has to be a resource of a couple different things to make sure that that person is getting provided good care. And I feel like that's kind of implicated in this as well. You have to have more than just one facility or program or whatever. They have to work together. The city, the state, and all this, they have to work together and not be on different pages.
right.
And that's when you're explaining that, that's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
It's like how in a lot of ways, they're just not on the same fucking page to get a good actual plan out.
So the way the auditing, basically, their contracting process within the providers, the contractors, the nonprofits, one of their biggest weaknesses. And right there, that's how they're going to get out there with the public, right? Out there with the public, out there with the homeless people, actually trying to make a difference within our community. Communication. There's no communication. I'm going to give you an example. Or a provider. They have a homeless person. They want to go into treatment.
Right.
Who do you contact?
Right. Yeah. Because it's just not organized.
Because it's not organized.
And then you ask questions, what do I do? And everyone's like, I don't know. Don't know what to do.
Can you imagine this?
And that's the thing. These are, these are humans.
The auditor also found internal system weaknesses, which I can imagine it was the invoicing.
So yeah, internal system, that means like that.
That means not good, dude.
Right. That means like, I think the functionality as the company.
All of this shit should have been dealt with a long time ago. We have
you said 7
dying.
years. It should have been. And like people would like to contribute and say like, oh, COVID, but this is before COVID. This is before 2020.
COVID. This is after COVID. And I'm going to tell you something. The joint office. I'm going to tell you this. This is going to just chap your hide right here. The joint office has received to date since they started $738 million. Oh, that's not just it. That's not just it. That's only just since they've been started rolling. They have asked for a proposed budget this next year of $265 million. If that goes through, that means within 7 years, this one office. We're not talking about Measure 110 money. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about any other money. We're just talking about this one office that means taxpayers. That means everything. They would have spent $1 billion on this office. $1 billion.
Is there anybody, because obviously we're us little people, so is there anybody that is of power that is questioning that? Is there anybody questioning where is this money going?
Yes, I have been paying attention to.
So I know you are, but I'm saying, so is there anybody that is in our government within Oregon, in our within our counties that are actually going to bat to these places and saying, hey, where is this money going? Do you not see what's happening? Nothing is getting better. Things are getting worse. You're providing stuff with this money that isn't helping. So is there anybody that has like a good following, like a mayor or a governor that is actually going to this place and saying, what the fuck?
Well, one would think our state would step in, but here remember in the beginning, our state says it is up to the county And we know the joint office is a department within the county.
But this isn't a county issue.
Yeah. Well,
they want to think that, and it's not.
Yeah.
And this is.
I'm going to tell you something. There is no governing structure.
Right. And is it just us people that are that are pointing that out, or is there anybody that?
Yes, there is somebody on the board of commissioners right now trying to bring awareness to this. Just one. Just one.
And then there's how many people on the board? How many people are on this board? I'm thinking like
5.
Oh, I was thinking like 7.
I think they're going to add more. But the problem is there is no governing structure to help end the homeless within Multnomah County, within Portland, there's no governing body in charge of
that
joint office of homeless. There is nobody in charge. So what we have is a city doing one thing. We have a county doing another thing. We have all of these nonprofits doing another thing with no plan. We have individual plans that are happening and they're not coming together. Like there is no tie to this is what's going to happen. Then this is going to happen. I have this homeless person. They need to go here. They need to go. What is the structure? There is none. And I want everybody to know that.
So, 2 questions. One, each facility, business, corporation, all this stuff usually has a mission statement, right? What would be, what's their mission statement? That's first question. Then I have another one.
Well, I mean, that depends. You know how many nonprofits?
Coming from the organization of this self, what would their mission statement be? What is their goal?
We would have to look it up.
Yeah. And then my next question is specifically with what is currently going on within the present day, what is their 2023, 2024 goal?
Their budgeting plan. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell
exactly.
You
Do they even have anything because it doesn't sound like they're pretty good organized facility.
So if you have different pieces of a plan, right? So this is what happens. And this is what I've noticed within these meetings, within everything. Somebody has an idea. It's a really good idea, right? It's really great. It's a really great idea.
Those are just words.
They focus. They just focus.
Mm-hmm.
And they develop what is a great idea, and they focus on that. But that's not going to solve anything, right? So you have to know what it is.
There's so many open words and empty promises. Mm-hmm. Yes, those are just words, but there has to be action behind them.
Mm-hmm. Remember, we're just this one department, $1 billion, dude.
That's so wild.
That's why we're talking about this.
And they're asking for more when
just
it's like, what the fuck have you done?
This is taxpayers' dollars. Don't forget that. This is your money. And this isn't just happening in this county. This is happening all around.
With stating that, I don't want people to think that you're like, oh no, like screw that, like I don't want my tax dollars going to this. I think you do want it to, but you want it to be used correctly. Exactly.
Yes. So, and this is why we're doing this, right?
Right.
So in order to solve a homeless crisis, there's already a set standard, right? Preventing it from happening.
They're not doing.
Preventing it from happening. Let's not like increase everything. Let's not put 10% on this and
increase rent 10%.
Let's not do
food
this.
Prices, gas, long list, and not meeting that with livable wages.
You have shelter, right? You have housing, right? So shelter and housing a little bit different, right? Shelter, that could be like temporary housing, right? Mm-hmm. Each one of these components has, should be having a plan, right? So as we know, who is going to be accountable for this? Who is going to be accountable? At the end of the day, who is going to be accountable? If you can't do a who, what, when, they have washed their hands.
And label it.
They have washed their hands. If they have not established a plan, nobody is accountable in their eyes. Nobody can be accountable, right? But the state of Oregon says it is the responsibility of your county to provide services, right? If there's available beds out there, they need to get into them, right? Who is accountable? So your county and your city is accountable for this. So they can't wash their hands with this. But here's the thing that I found out. Did you know that we don't even know how many homeless people that are in our area?
Well, no, and I think because with all the research that we do with all topics is what we find is the articles and the things that is most recently published isn't even actively up to date to the current time we're in now. So whatever's out there is not going to be accurate.
I mean, is it 6? Is it 10K? Is it how many is it? How many is it? And they don't know. The reason why they don't know is I'm going to tell you what they did. There was something called the point in time count. And it's supposed to be a measure of how many people that are homeless within our streets. And they're also supposed to, have written down what type of homelessness are they in. They call them, and I don't really approve of it, bends. Okay? Don't like the word. I think it's offensive, and people are human. I'm just going to say that right now. But they don't have anybody new that's not in their system. They don't know. They're not going back out and doing the count. It's just an estimate measure that they can go by over time. So here's the thing.
Well, and I also think that also if there's humans coming from other locations that aren't from Oregon, that's going to be a little harder to track as well.
And anybody that pays attention to how to help and support the homeless community, they start educating themselves, and there's something called ground zero, right? Ground zero means that you go out, you figure out what the needs are within your area, you figure out a count, and you figure out where these people need to go. And you come back, you have a plan, and it's based off of your area. And the reason why it is ground zero is because you're trying to reach to that zero of where there's 0 people out there on the street. We know that that's not going to happen, but one can try, right? We need to demand change. As our system has failed our homeless community and has failed the public and the tax dollars over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely think there was feasible solutions. Still currently good solutions.
What would you do with $1 billion, dude?
There's
just
many.
one department. This is just one department.
Yeah, it's just.
Let's talk about what's actually going on the streets.
Like, there's so much that's. This is still on topic of this, but there's so much that Americans waste from all places, from stores to other like restaurants, all this kind of stuff. But what doesn't make sense to me is quite a few lists of stuff. So like for food resources and stuff like that, why are we throwing away good non-expired food or things that could be used within communities and given it back? And like what, and we won't have hungry people if we don't make them hungry. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, and like we'll get more into it too later with a certain topic, but there is a lot of abandoned foreclosed homes that I'm guessing are either going to be tried to be torn down to make a new place that isn't tangible for any true American to even fucking uphold and get to there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the system is flawed and failed, but I mean,
Let's talk about what's actually going on the streets,
yes.
okay? We have a lot of good nonprofit organizations that try to help with the homeless crisis in Portland, Oregon, by providing them meals, by doing the best that they can, within their community, all of that great stuff. And I can't say enough about a lot of these nonprofit organizations. I really wish that they could be within the plan and have a solid structure and a governing body that actually oversaw it, so that way we could actually hold people accountable. But let's talk about...
Well, and I think a lot of those places, they may not be able to facilitate them like sleeping there or whatever, but they give them a safe space to be for a small amount of time, which
especially
I think is...
since the no ban within the daytime,
right.
They go to the Blanche house, they eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's different little places like that in Portland, Oregon. And so that takes them off the street for that period of time.
Right. But that's not provided for a 24-hour period.
No.
Exactly.
No.
So, yeah.
So I see it every day. Like you said, I'm in Portland, Oregon. I have,
It's right outside of your door.
Right outside my door, right down the street, how I get in and out of where I'm going to work. There are a lot of people, and I'm going to recognize a couple people right here. Kevin Dahlgren. And Kevin Dahlgren has been in the business of social services for 20 plus years. He's bringing truth to actually what is happening in the Portland area. Velly Ray, he is just a normal, everyday resident who is out there recording, documenting. Both of them are documenting the streets of Portland and what is actually happening on these streets. And it shows the truth of what is really happening.
Yeah, because these people aren't the news, and it's also not filtered. So a lot of these videos and stuff you'll see, you can find them on YouTube, sometimes on other social media sites like Instagram or TikTok. But you're seeing real raw footage, and sometimes when they go live, you'll see stuff that may not even be into their posted social media because it's the real raw stuff. And, some things may get censored or taken down, or because we've witnessed that happen before with some of their content. And, but again, if you want to see the real raw stuff that is happening on the streets, those would be resources to go to.
And again, Kevin, 20 plus years in social services. Mm-hmm. Velly Ray is a resident of Portland, Oregon.
Just a community member.
Just a community
Concerned
member.
community.
Going, what the hell, dude? Mm-hmm. And so the main thing is you have different groups of people.
Yeah, and they are the definition of bitching about it, being about it.
Right.
Because they are highly spoken. They are speaking up about it, but they are actually the ones actively going on the streets to communicate with these people.
And you got to know, these are the ones, and also they are the ones actually out there with these communities, and they're the ones that get a lot of hate too, because they think that I'm not going to get into it, but I actually
people's opinions.
Yeah, I give both of those human beings props, because at the end of the day, their agenda is the same. They may handle things two different ways. They may do all of, go out there, and their agenda is the same. They're actually getting the same results too,
and figuring out the same
things. But what you can observe, and of course, people are going to put them in bins. And I don't approve of that, but it's a thing.
It's a thing with society. We categorize people, and it's just not a cool thing.
So you got the people again who are down on their luck. You have the people that are using. You have mental illness, which is very well seen.
You also have people that have been put out on the streets due to not acceptance and not being able to be themselves or accepted through family, friends, and not having any access to resources within their family or community to be safe.
And then some of them just, that's their lifestyle. That's what they choose to do. That's what
some do choose.
What is going on.
And then some, I would like to hugely stick up for the vets because, people may think that we talk shit about vets, but we don't. We actually have talked about it before, how our vets deserve to have a lot of access to mental health resources, never have to worry about where their next meal or housing or anything like that. But we see too many times where vets do not get treated with respect coming back from serving. Mm-hmm. So I want to actually represent that, where it's like people think because of where we stand from that we don't appreciate vets, which is quite falsely. We appreciate them very much, and we bring attention to how they don't get respected here in America.
Yeah. You can also see within the streets that it's accurate. 80% are using some sort of substance.
And I really don't like the term that a lot of people use around here, like saying tweaker or druggie. It's honestly, these human beings are struggling in a way that we can't really understand.
And 5% of these people are violent. Mm-hmm. They are violent. They are invading women's spaces. They are doing harm to women. They are beating women up. They are sexually abusing these women. And it's not just women. It happens with men. Mm-hmm. And, as you see with the fentanyl crisis within Portland, Oregon, a lot of these people wake up every day and they're like, okay, I need so many pills today.
To be able to function.
Mm-hmm. I have to do this. How am I going to do this? And this is all they can think about, right? And so that's when the smash and grabs start happening.
And one thing that I really started noticing with some things that, because you really dove into it more so than I will, and I will obviously credit you for that. But one thing I noticed with the stuff that you would share with me would be that, here, let me read this because it was referencing to this. A lot of these people build within communities to protect each other. I know you're saying 5% because that is, but when these people that you're saying that go out here and basically are their own sort of outreach to help these humans, what I see coming from them is you'll see where they'll figure out kind of like who the leader of the pack is of that community, because that there's like maybe one or two.
Yeah, in a lot of the larger encampments, they have a mayor.
Right. So they have like a protection of some sort where it is kind of organized because they're not getting help from the city or county. So it's like they're organizing their own thing. And that's what I've seen. It's like, this is their community. And then it's like they go to different areas. This is their community, but they're together. And so that's one thing that I'm noticing.
And a lot of times these homeless people, are really the outreach, because they're the ones saving the lives. They're the ones giving the Narcan. They're the ones, constantly trying to save their community. And also at the same time, when you're trying to ask them, hey, do you want to get into housing? Hey, do you want to do this? They're always concerned about their friends. Mm-hmm. If I leave this situation,
right.
And Joel's going to talk about this later, but if I leave this situation, what's going to happen to my friend? Mm-hmm. And that's really important. The whole point
is like, because they are a community. So it's like within the years, I feel like they develop as like a family. Yeah. They're looking out for each other, making sure that they're fed, they're getting provided the things they need to survive.
And that's one thing that you could see with Kevin and with Velly Ray. is, you know, they run into the same similar occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's like you're the only one that's talked to me about outreach.
Or you're the only one who's coming out to actually get my opinion.
Yeah, you're the only one out here talking to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, it's been 9 years since, Kevin walks up to somebody and says, nobody's talked to me since, 9 years.
Right.
And you're sitting there like, holy crap.
Right.
They both get the same resistance when it comes to, hey, I can get you into treatment. We can go now. Let's go. Let's get you into treatment. They both kind of get the same resistance on it.
Mm-hmm.
They also get the same resistance when it comes to trying to, let's say somebody wants to get off the streets.
Well, and it makes me wonder if maybe some of these people have been provided these services before and then been failed. So then they're in, not denial, but like disbelief. Like, nope, this isn't going to work for me because it didn't work for me before.
That could very well be.
Because like we're figuring out the system is just set up to fail them. It's not organized. It's not figuring out a solution. It's like a temporary Band-Aid.
Velly Ray went to try to get help for this lady that wanted to get off the street.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually, tried to get in touch with her caseworker. I think the caseworker was no longer there. I don't want to speak on what happened.
Right.
Because that was his situation. But I know he ran into some challenges. I know it took a long time. I know he had to go through the system. Can you imagine somebody trying to
do that on their own?
That by themselves, right?
Jeez.
Same thing with Kevin. He's trying to get a caseworker for, this couple, and, weeks later, the lady passed away. He didn't succeed on trying to get a caseworker, right? And that's very unfortunate. And those are two different. So, I could see the similarities of both of them trying to reach out, especially when somebody's like, yes, I do want to. I do want to do this. And they're like, awesome, cool.
It's so crazy is there's such difference of what people paint. Because I think in social media and in the news, like main media stuff, what they paint it out to be, I think for all homeless, not even just here for Oregon and Portland, is that majority of homeless people don't want to get off the streets. When you ask them, they say no, provide no. That's false, because I see it actually more so from human beings, not sourced from the news, not sourced from main media, where these human beings do want to get off the street, be provided access to be able to potentially get off the streets, make a better future for themselves, do something different.
I think that, Kevin actually is in there. And he brought up a very good point. He said, a lot of these people want to do something. They want to contribute. So, they're just not getting. We need outreach, and we need caseworkers.
And do you notice a difference because like Velly Ray is like a normal human citizen versus the Kevin person having history and background in social services? Is he able to get through to people easier and better than Velly Ray?
I think that he has more resources. They both have resources over time. Velly Ray did develop resources.
But because the Kevin guy has a name for himself in social work, do you think he's more believable or trusted more?
Yeah, with our government, he is. So he's even gone in front of counseling. The commissioners.
Even though Velly Ray can give them proof of saying, this is what I'm witnessing, da-da-da-da-da, and I have proof of this, why isn't nothing being done? That kind of thing. Whereas they'll believe the Kevin person.
I think Kevin gets a lot of hate too. I think they both do. But at the same time, I think Kevin is respected within
more so
because Velly Ray just started
within the higher up people. He's more respected from like maybe the government.
I think he's got a lot of heat from the commissioners and the chair before. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's got a lot of heat, and Kevin's values may not be the same as what everybody else is, because it's kind of like you're enabling these people. You're not. You can only give a sandwich so many times to the same person over and over again. Let's say one of these nonprofit organizations, let's say that same person for 10 years, and you're feeding that same person over and over and over again. What is that doing to contribute to ending homelessness?
Yeah.
So, harm reduction. Harm reduction is one of the main outreaches that the homeless people will say that they have seen in outreach. And Kevin is a drug and alcohol counselor. He has very valid points. This is not. This is doing more harm.
Mm-hmm.
There's more overdoses. The overdoses are 50% higher. People are dying. Fentanyl is no joke.
So, in your best opinion, do you think people are choosing to get into drugs and addiction, or do you think some of them are kind of forced into that lifestyle?
I can't answer that for individuals,
Yeah.
I can't, even though you watch and you witness.
With me stating that, I'm meaning, so specifically for some people who are trafficked or taken into it, do you think because they don't have anywhere to turn to, they
could.
Whereas maybe there's some people who have chosen that lifestyle to use drugs and then feed into it by just drifting off into like, oh, I chose this to do this. Because I've heard it from time and time again where, and this is just speaking from, I guess, mother's point of view, parents' point of view of, single moms. They don't have a lot of options. They turn to whatever they freaking can do to be able to feed their children, do what they can. And again, the government, the city is so set up for failure for a lot of Americans who don't have that American dream, because there's people who are more privileged. And then with that topic, it also is like we were teetering back and forth with the government shutdown. Why are we doing that when we're already in this such crisis? Why are we going to create more of a crisis and take more away from these human beings who don't have much? That you're giving them a grain of salt.
I don't.
Yeah. Right. It's a hard one. That's why we're discussing this.
A couple days ago, I watched Multnomah County. They had a surplus of $62 million. As I watched how they were spending the unspent dollars of $62 million, knowing the knowledge of how they don't have a structure, they don't have a governing body, they don't have
it's just like kind of like your who, what, why, like all that thing. It's like you're not able to identify who.
We continue to fail homeless in our public over and over again. It's up to us as a community to try and make sure to wrap our head around what is happening and to know that this is turning into a complex, non-transparent cottage industry with the homeless. And we need to get involved within our community.
I think it's huge to also know who the people in positions of power, who our leadership is, and what their actual message, their vision, what they are, with their words stating that they want done within this, and actually making sure, so this is like making sure you're voting, but then also making sure those people that you're voting for are applying what they have been saying, not just open promises, because that's what's been happening is a lot of open promises from leadership and nothing being done.
You know, I hate to say this, but we've been enabling the homeless by passing them tents, feeding them, doing this over and over and over again. Now remember, what was the quote in the very beginning, right? Over and over and over. And something's going to change, right? No, nothing's changed. We need to create a community understanding of what needs to be done. What needs to be done, you know, within our community. It is so important. And you have to think of it like this. You have to, number one, identify the communities. You have to identify them because we are all human. Everybody's different. Okay? You put them where they fall. Okay? That's where the outreach and the resources are. You grab the temporary the temporary housing. You're trying to get them into full housing. You're trying to get them back out in the workforce. But one thing is, we have made it in Portland, Oregon, we have made it impossible for permanent housing. Everybody's like, housing. This is the way it is. Housing.
We have plenty of housing.
Okay. So here's the thing. And then they're like, money. They have plenty of money. If one department has over $1 billion over a 7-year period of time, that's just one department, right? So, you know, it's crazy to me that we have no structure. We have no plan. We need to be after these. We need to be after the county. We need to hold our city, our government accountable for their actions. We need to demand change.
I know I use this to scripture a lot because it's my news site, but I'm going to say this again. But something that is wild, and I say wild, but it's just like, because it's like crazy to me, is something you showed me from a fellow human being who, right now, we talk about them all the time in our podcast, somebody who we kind of idolize and the work that they do within our community over here, but now went to a different community and is helping over there, is Jessie Sponberg. Somebody who, again, I say heavily was involved in the Portland community. That being said, I wasn't aware of at the time. I think I was just a teenager just doing my own thing. So now I'm obviously involved within this stuff, so it's important to me. But he had run for mayor a long time ago. He had amazing ideas. He had an idea specifically for this situation that when applied and the concept came to, like his vision came to play, the vision was executed well, and from documentation seemed to be working very well for the homeless, specifically just this one situation and housing so many homeless people.
And we're going to put that video down here. We're going to do a link on it. It's the Garage Project.
And he gets specifically more into it but that's his work that he did, and that's his baby that he created. But that was taken away, which doesn't make any sense, because what you will see and you go and look at it is that it was thriving. It was working. And that's where I say I referenced it back a little ways. But we could apply that to now, whereas we have, and you'll see it in their video, that there was so many foreclosed homes that they're either going to condemn, break down, or build new homes, build apartments, all this kinds of stuff. Whereas we could repurpose them, have these certain community members find out what their skills are, and reapply that within to the homeless community, like people growing fruits and veggies, people helping build the siding on the walls, painting, like making sure their structure is visible, like plumbing, all this kinds of stuff. See where because what people don't ask is these human beings have skills. They are good at something.
Yeah.
Everybody's good at something. Where can you apply those skills? But they're not asking them. They're not even giving them a chance. Whereas what Jessie did, he gave them a chance. He gave them opportunity, and then it got taken away, which I think that was a very good plan. And I don't know why we don't try to think of that more. We don't need to build new homes for them. We don't need to provide new homes. We have plenty of housing that could be provided to them.
Right.
And with the community members of this homeless, like, again, whereas they're saying, oh, we need this millions and millions of dollars. If we can repurpose, it's like reduce, reuse, recycle kind of a sense.
And we're in Portland. We should be thinking green, right?
Exactly. And it's like, why can't we be doing that? Why can't we be applying that?
It's so crazy to me. So you think of the amount of trash.
So wasteful.
The amount of everything. And, Portland used to be... Well, not used to be. I'm talking about not that long ago, right?
Yeah.
Green. We're going to keep it green. We're going to do this, this and this and this. They're not applying that.
Mm-mm.
And they could be using these. I think we need to give props to Jessie Sponberg because
100%.
this was...
he had this idea a long time ago before it's gotten to where it is now. And he's always believed in human beings authentically and always giving them a chance. And that's what they don't get given. They don't get given a chance. They get looked at like, and I said this, they get treated like they are animals. They are human beings. Even I like to treat animals decently too. And what I'm talking about is they get treated like trash. It's like they're literally treated like they're...
It's inhumane. It's inhumane.
They act like their lives don't matter. Right. And this happened somewhere else, but like even pay attention to how police and ambulance people, all these types of people, sheriffs talk about these people. They act and talk about them like they are not humans. There was a situation... not in our area, but I'm sure it's happened to fellow in here, but this was just documented because it was on video proof. But there was a fellow officer in Seattle that ran over a 23-year-old woman, and they acted like her life didn't matter. They were like, she's just a regular person. Just send out a check to her family. She's just whatever. That's how they treat these human beings. Their lives matter. Don't act like they don't.
I don't know if we can each individually grab a little bit of Jessie Sponberg, right?
Seriously.
Grab a little bit of him. I don't know if we all got to take the day off, plan a day off, right?
Because what's so fucking wild was I think shit wasn't as bad, and he was like, fucking shit's hitting the fan in this part of Hawaii. I need to go save these animals. I need to go do this. He had a mission. And then he's here and he's like, what the fuck is happening back at home? So he's like, because he's invested so much work back into the community of Portland.
I think he got burnt out on Portland because they didn't respect him.
No.
I mean, I don't want to speak for him. And, Jessie Sponberg didn't deserve... or Jessie Sponberg didn't get enough credit for the work that he was trying to do here in Portland, Oregon.
I think for our slogan, the don't bitch about it, be about it, he is the number one on that list of that person that is being about it. You will go see, if you look at his other content, not just from what I've told you about this video that he's done, you will go see that he has even gone to police to talk about maybe this is that we should find a different way of how we handle things. And he's like, we could be doing this. We could be doing this. He always was trying to find a positive way. I believe his message is always trying to find a positive way of doing things. And it's, again, treating human beings
as humans
authentically. That's what I always see his representation. Like, I remember when you would first circulate talking about him, I'm like, oh, who's this Jessie person? Like, who is he? And then I started following him, seeing the work he does and puts back into. He is so selfless. He doesn't think about himself first. He always puts others before himself, which is great. But I'm like, Jessie, think about yourself. But he is so. He's just that. Yeah. What do you call that? He's just such a activist. Like he's so into it, and that's like his mission. He is and he thrives from that. He thrives from helping community and others.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to witness and see. So
it is.
It's a bummer that nothing got followed through with his creation, because that's his, and that's where I'm going to say that's Jessie's creation. So if anybody tries to take credit for any of that,
it's Jessie's.
Jessie Sponberg's.
And I will know it.
Yep.
And I will call you out. No, but he deserves that credit. He deserves that vision, and that would come to life. And I think all of us need to take a little bit of this, but Jessie Sponberg and I don't know if we need to take the day off, and all of us in the state of Oregon all together get out there in the community, pick a day and show up and be the outreach for our community, report back to our counties and be there on their doorstep, saying we demand change.
Yep.
I don't know. The only person that I know that could make that happen would be Jessie Sponberg, but
because that's the thing, is he will not give up. He will make sure his voice is loud. He will make sure you hear him.
So since he's not here, we all got to grab a little piece of that.
And also, I have to state, because he's not here, also in where he's at, he has a hard time getting internet access, so he's not even able to get out his thoughts. And so sometimes we don't want to say we speak for him, but we always want to give him a platform and remind you guys of him and all the awesome work that he does do. Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to say something before we leave today. We charted 102.
Out of all the podcasts.
All the podcasts in Mongolia.
I think that's so cool. I honestly think it's cooler when because like, I think you guys know this, I'm not a huge fan of America, obviously. But I think it's really cool, because then it's like you have beautiful cultures from all over the world that are watching us. And I hope from them watching us, it's not like a bad thing. I hope you guys are finding good messages and liking what we're saying. So I just think it's really cool that we have access to be able to touch and bring that around in all of.
And I have to apologize, because I didn't know that we did chart, because
she was
not just that, but we don't pay attention to those kind of things, right? And it's not that we don't care. It's just we're not a numbers girl, right?
We're just making sure our shit's not getting taken down.
Yeah.
Because we talk about important subjects.
When I found that out, I actually, apologized, because we did it in May, and then we did it in September, and I really appreciate you guys for listening, and that really touches us. We're going to try and maybe do something, a little 5-minute quotes for you,
or things to just represent your guys' community up there.
Yeah, so just watch out for that. And if you hear a little 5-minute.
And if you guys are from Mongolia who are listening to us, if you guys have any ideas of what you guys would love us to share, give us some great ideas.
Yeah.
Some beautiful, inspiring stuff,
Yeah. And thank you for listening to us.
Always.
It doesn't really show us, it says all. So it says all episodes. It doesn't like pinpoint.
Which ones?
Yeah. It just says all episodes. So they don't give us too much detail into that. But thank you. We're going to do something special, so watch out for that. So if you hear like 5-minute podcasts or 10-minute podcasts, that's for you. Mm-hmm. And if you want us to chart within your country, you got to start listening to us, and then we'll do something special for you too. I really want us as a community to come together within the homeless community. You really need to pay attention to those organizations. It's going to be coming up into the holidays of who you're contributing to, why, who, what, when. I want everybody, let's say it together. Who, what, when. We all need to have that. We need to have accountability.
And actually making sure that who you're providing for has a plan and a solution of some sort, and not a Band-Aid solution.
And that's what we've had, is a lot of temporary solutions, no permanent solutions.
Exactly.
So until next time, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Juel.
Peace. Our show is produced by us. Our theme song is by Comeback Karma. Don't forget to like and subscribe.